going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're continuing with our 32-team 7-round mock draft series, getting into the teams that no longer have a first-round pick. Here with the Indianapolis Colts, they traded said first-round pick, which was in the early teens. I think it was 13, 14, 12, somewhere in that range, to get DeForest Buckner. Really good defensive tackle from the 49ers. You know, I'm looking at it, yeah, probably worth it. Didn't overpay, got fair value for him, and obviously he's going to be a big-time improvement to that interior defensive line of the Colts. So before we get into the 7-round mock draft, where I think they have 2 second-round picks, if my mind serves me correctly, which is plenty enough damage if they hit on it. They get a really strong general manager in Chris Ballard. Before we do that, though, we're going to go through the Power Madden 20, look at their depth chart, where it stands after free agency, to get an idea where we are going to take this mock draft. So we're starting right now, obviously, brand new quarterback. Philip Rivers there. They still get Jacoby Brissett. I think if I'm them, I try to trade Jacoby Brissett for whatever you can get. You might be able to get a 4th-round pick, somewhere in that range. You got to draft your successor for Philip Rivers. Not going to say you have to burn him right away, but you got to. He's a Band-Aid. He is a 1-year, maybe 2-year at best quarterback. He's 37. So you got a strong offensive line. You shouldn't be getting hit, shouldn't get beat up. You might get 2 years out of him. But I think they only signed a 1-year deal. So absolutely draft a quarterback. Running back situation, pretty solid. Mack and Hines. Wide receiver, T.Y. Hilton, even though he's getting out there in age a little bit, solid. Pascal for a slot wide receiver, solid. Paris Campbell, if he can hit full stride next season, obviously brings a lot of speed, but he probably could throw in another wide receiver here because T.Y. Hilton's not getting any younger. At tight end, no more Ebron. They have Jack Doyle, who's good. Mo Alley, maybe could use another tight end. Offensive line's outstanding. I would say if we had a nitpick, maybe get Costanzo's future replacement because he is 31. But now again, you see a lot of tight ends that they're staying, or tackles. They're playing another 34, 35. Look at Jason Peters for the Eagles. He's still looking to play somewhere. So, maybe you don't have to, but I would suggest maybe getting a tackle here, maybe bringing in another guard as well. But the offense, generally, it's a wide receiver, a quarterback. Those are your big needs. Flip into the defense. Well, there's your brand new shiny toy here into DeForest Buckner in the heart of that defense. You got Justin Houston, Autry, Ben Banigou. I would say probably an edge rusher could come in and help. Another young one, Banigou and Toure. Toure actually probably will be the starter there, opposed to Justin Houston. But Justin Houston, not, the best football's behind him. So maybe start future-proofing your defensive end spot. The secondary, still trying to find their identity because, you're seeing lack of development. Quincy Wilson, didn't really hear a lot of Rocky Sin as a rookie. Kenny Moore's a really solid slot corner, but you brought in Xavier Rhodes, who was 100% undoubtedly washed last season with the Minnesota Vikings, really the last 2 years. So this is a team that probably, if there is a good corner, invest in one. The safety, Malik Hooker, obviously, just getting ready to enter his prime. Got some pretty good snaps from Kyrie Willis. So you're probably fine at safety. Linebacking core, you get the freak Darius Leonard. Anthony Walker, solid. I probably wouldn't touch linebacker. I think these guys are generally pretty good, especially if you got Speed, who they surprisingly got. Didn't they get him like the 5th round, something like that? You got Okereke. Probably could slide him at outside linebacker. Maybe you could add a linebacker, but it wouldn't be a top priority. More so a BPA. So on the defense, I would say corner and probably just see if you can get a little bit younger on the defensive line in terms of some edge depth or interior depth as well. But generally, not a lot of holes. BPA, more often than not, for the Colts. And if you're the Colts, as long as you can walk away with a young developmental quarterback and a wide receiver, I think you're going to be pretty happy. So without further ado, let's get into the mock draft of the Indianapolis Colts. So now up at pick 34, because they have that first-round selection, let's just view it as DeForest Buckner. Great first pick. At pick 34 for the Indianapolis Colts, I was selecting Jacob EASON, quarterback from Washington, 6'5", 230. Rivers is a Band-Aid, and Indianapolis won't be picking in the top 5-10 next year to get that new franchise quarterback. EASON fits the build of quarterback Frank Reich likes. He's a cannon arm, and if he can develop, sit behind, pick the brain of Philip Rivers, and also see if Frank Reich can work some of that developmental magic that just rubbed off amazingly on Carson Wentz, took Carson Wentz to that MVP season. I think that's a very favorable landing spot for EASON, who definitely needs to work on everything that's not just, he's kind of like Josh Allen in a ways where he has the known cannon arm, has the known arm talent, but everything else needs a little bit of refinement. So I think it's a great landing spot. Learn from Rivers, learn from Frank Reich, and maybe be the starter once Philip Rivers decides to hang him up, because the Colts are not going to have a premium pick to get, a more sure thing like a Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. Going to the second round pick at 44, I was letting KJ HAMLER, wide receiver from Penn State, 5'8", 180. a burner who will do most of his damage from the slot, but he can add more speed into that Indianapolis wide receiver core that just got Paris Campbell last year. Was a little bit disappointing, but you know, you got T.Y. Hilton, who was drafted for a speed guy, getting up there in age a little bit. You know, you got HAMLER, Paris Campbell. Even though HAMLER goes in the slot, you can have him flex out outside to get space downfield, spread the field so that you can have guys like Jack Doyle or Zach Pascal to work underneath in the slot. Definitely boomer bust potential. Small hands, people talk about his catch radius, drops, and stuff like that. That's why he's not going to be really in the conversation to be one of those first-round wide receivers, but such an electrifying athlete. I think if you can get Paris Campbell to flip that switch on and hit the ground running next year with his athletic profile, and you get that with KJ HAMLER, god damn, man, they're going to be tough to stop, and they're going to go on without missing a beat whenever T.Y. Hilton's time comes to an end there in Indy. Going to the third round at pick 75, I was letting BRYCEN HOPKINS, tight end from Purdue, 6'3", 245, fills in that Eric Ebron role as the receiving tight end to complement what they have in Jack Doyle. And there's a chance for Hopkins. It's really a logjam. It's not a great tight end class, but there's really, you know, you look at Cole Kmet, who I had mocked to the Cowboys, Adam Troutman, who you'll see in just a little bit. Actually, would you have already seen it? Yeah, you would have already seen it. I had Troutman going to the Packers. I think BRYCEN HOPKINS is another name right in that mix that 2-3 years from now could be the best tight end from this class. So look well at the combine, 4.66 in the 40. Look really good in the drills. Actually underrated blocker. You look at him, 6'3", 245. You watch his tape at Purdue. Looks like pure receiver, but looked really good during the block drills. I think his dad was like a former NFL lineman, so that kind of makes some sense that he'd be good there. Great receiving numbers last year, 61 catches, 800 yards, 7 touchdowns. Like I said, I think he can come in, complement Jack Doyle with potential, because Doyle's what? 30? You know, not a spring ticket anymore. So a guy like Hopkins could eventually be tight end 1 there for the Colts. Going to the fourth round, pick 122. I was letting Dane Jackson, corner from Pitt, 5'11", 195 pounds. One of my favorite corners in this class. Dane Jackson is an aggressive corner with proven production in his career at Pitt. 150 tackles, 9 TFLs, 43 pass breakups, 4 interceptions. I think he could fill in that depth spot that Pierre Desir left because they had to get a little bit cheaper. I think that's why they released him. It was kind of surprising. I mean, you look at their corners right now. Xavier Rhodes, unless that's a reclamation product, he was washed last year. You have Rock Ya-Sin in the nickel. Marvell Tell, probably, 5th-round pick, USC, will get some starting snaps. Kenny Moore probably should actually be in your nickel. So you have Kenny Moore in the nickel, Rock Ya-Sin, Marvell Tell, Quincy Wilson, maybe he can develop. Not a great track record, though, of developing corners here so far for the Colts. But I think a guy like Dane Jackson, very talented. I think he adds depth, could bring starting upside to this secondary that's really, truly trying to find their identity. When you're throwing flyers on Xavier Rhodes, you don't really know what you are in the secondary just yet. So I think Dane Jackson brings great value in the 4th round and will be a really, really solid football player for the Colts in the future. Going to the 5th round at 160, I was letting Jason Strowbridge, D tackle from North Carolina, 6'4", 275, an undersized defensive tackle who had cheap depth to kind of, you know, play and fit around DeForest Buckner. You look right now, they got Grover Stewart, who's going to be getting a contract sooner than later, I think, 4th round pick. Danico Autry, you know, kind of expensive coming over from the Raiders, had a breakout year, was kind of sizzled a little bit last season. I think a guy like Strowbridge brings a nice array of pass rush moves to be versatile chess piece along that defensive line. You want to put him at D tackle? Fine. You want to have him as a little bit big D end? Like, if I had to kind of compare how his flexibility, really, really, really poor man's Michael Bennett for how he can be utilized on that defensive line. And moving on, 6th round, pick 193. We're just flying right here. I have the Indianapolis Colts selecting DJ WONNUM, defensive end from South Carolina, 6'4", 260 pounds, an athletic edge rusher with very long arms and a relentless pass rush. Tested well at the combine, 4.73, showed some good explosiveness, and I think his ceiling is pretty high. I think defensive end 4 potential when I'm kind of looking at the Colts depth chart right now. You got Toure, you got Justin Houston, veteran, Ben Banagou, 2nd-round pick at a TCU, but other than that, I mean, you're kind of viewing long-term Ben Banagou, no, we'll get it right. Ben Banagou and Kamoko Toure are going to be your long-term options, you hope, at defensive end, because Houston is, what, 32? 31, 32? But you throw in a guy like WONNUM. I actually think WONNUM, really good value in the 6th round. If I'm trying to grade it, he might be like a 4th round in true talent, but just because of obviously other positions and how things are weighted and depth of other spots, he's going to still be here in the 6th round potentially. I think that's a really, really solid value pick. And let's be honest, Ballard drafts very well for the Colts, I think. It's more so the coaches have kind of been iffy developing some of these high-round picks. I think a guy like WONNUM, though, brings really good rotational depth to the Colts. And then finishing up, staying at the same position, 6th round, 197, I was letting Alton Robinson, defensive end from Syracuse, 6'2", 265. Fizzled a little bit from a great 2018 where he had 17 TFLs, 10 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles, but still had a pretty solid 2019, 9.5 TFLs, 4 sacks. Finesse rusher, who adds, again, to the defensive end core. Behind Justin Houston, Banigou, and Kamoko Toure, nothing really there. So you throw in a WONNUM, throw in a guy like STROWBRIDGE, who's kind of inside-outside, doesn't really have a true defined position, which is a bit, positive, kind of like Tyquan Lewis a little bit of a tweener. Guy like ALTON Robinson, edge, just solid edge depth. I think back-to-back ends kind of fill out that position. It's really, when I was looking at this mock draft for the Colts, it's best player available. And a guy like Ballard, he's going to be making best player available. He's always going to go for the best value. I think ALTON Robinson there, still being there in the 6th round, especially considering what he looked like in 2018. If he can get back in that form, this is going to be a really nice value pick here for the Colts. And with back-to-back defensive ends to really 3 picks, the last 3 picks in this draft to kind of solidify some depth to the defensive line, I think we're looking pretty fine heading into next season from a depth side. Hey, you want to have an injury here or there? Fine. We got depth. We planned for this. So there you go, guys. That is my mock draft here for the Indianapolis Colts. Let me know how you feel about it in the comment section below. As always, if your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.